There have been lots of improvements to the user interface of Illustrator over the years, but none more so in version CS6. You'll notice the first thing that we see is a darker interface, and that can be changed by going to the Preferences, which on the Mac you can find in the Illustrator menu. On Windows you can find in the Edit menu. And if we come down to User Interface, you'll notice there that there's a slider where I can adjust the brightness of the UI all the way down to a dark colour. I tend to prefer the default setting of medium dark, and you can choose to have your canvas match the colour of the user interface, or you can put that back to white. I prefer having it dark because I'm usually working in a dark environment doing motion graphic design, so I prefer a darker interface. Now you can also choose to override the default of opening documents as tabs. If you want to go back to individual documents, you can deselect that there. And there are a few new preferences in here. So let's click on OK. The next thing you'll notice is the tidier appearance of the interface. You'll notice a lot of work has been done on the individual icons just to make things a little bit tidier and feel a bit more spacious, really. And the control panel has been improved as well. If I select an item in my artwork, you'll notice that the control panel is context sensitive. At the moment it's showing me controls for my path, fill and stroke properties, line properties, opacity values, and style properties and colour and transform. Now if I was to select my text, notice that that updates, and it still maintains the fill and stroke properties here and the line and appearance properties for my stroke values, but it also has character and paragraph panels here available for me to click on and access really quickly if I need them. Now if I double click the text and make it editable, that opens up my font controls here, so I don't actually have to go into the character panel to get to my basic values for adjusting my characters. So it's context sensitive depending on what you click on in your artwork and which tools you have selected. Here I have my brushes appearing, allowing me to get access to those, because this piece of artwork has a brush applied to it. There's also been a lot of improvements to the workspaces. You'll notice that we have our preset workspaces here that I can select from this menu. So if I choose painting, it will open up my painting panels. If I choose tracing, it will open up panels specifically for tracing. And if we go back to essentials, it just opens up my essentials in this little palette here, where I can click on various options and just see them temporarily, hide and show them. Now, if I want to create my own workspace, I can. So let me just drag out my layers panel and place that out here and close my artboards panel. And I do that just by clicking and dragging the tab, as you saw me do there. And I can drag that tab anywhere I want it. I could actually dock it alongside my little shortcut panel here with my buttons to select my other panels. And to do that, I drag the panel over to the join between the shortcut panel and my main interface, and you'll see it highlights. Once I have a blue line, I can let go and dock that in there. Now we've always been able to dock panels, but I think it's just been made a little easier in this version. You can also open up new panels. So if I go to Window, Navigator, open up my Navigator and drag that above the layers panel. So I'm waiting until the highlight moves above the layers panel. So now I have my layers and my navigator, and of course my navigator allows me to zoom in increments of 1, so I can get a much more detailed zoom by using the navigator rather than just using the magnifying options down here, which only allow me to move in increments. Now I can also drag items into the same panel. So I could drag my info panel and then drag it over to the navigator, and when the whole box highlights, I'm actually dragging it into the same panel. So we now have 2 tabs within the same panel. Let's have a look at our colours as well. There's been a lot of improvements to the colour panel. Let's open that up. Let's close our colour guide for now, and let's just dock the colour panel at the side of the navigator. And you'll notice that now we have a much bigger space to choose colour from. Particularly if I go to show options, you'll notice I now have a huge RGB spectrum to choose my colours from. A really nice way of interactively choosing my colours. and I can see the swatch updating with the new colour over here. So a really nice way of working with that colour panel. Now if I open up my swatches, you'll notice if I drag them underneath my colour panel, you'll notice that they're all fully editable. I can show a large thumbnail view. If I go to large list view, the names are fully editable now in here. I can just double click them and edit them in here. And if I double click the colour itself, if I choose one of these colours, I can open up my swatch options where I can make changes, adjust that colour and rename it. So a lot of improvements to the palettes in Illustrator, I think. Okay, and one more improvement that I want to talk about, if we go back to our preferences, so go to Illustrator Preferences and go into General Preferences. So they've just generally been tidied up, and you'll notice the dialog boxes are just looking a lot more tidy and a little bit more logical to work your way through than before. Also, if we're to open up a dialog box, say to change a tool, for example, so if I select my text here and I double click the scale tool to open it up, you'll notice that we now have a preview option in all dialog boxes, so a commit option is there, so that you can just make sure that the changes you're making are correct before you click OK. Now, we always had that in the scale dialog box, but some dialog boxes didn't have that. Most of them have that preview option now. And of course, I can scale strokes and effects from within the scale dialog box now. So quite a few new improvements to the user interface. There's full keyboard access in all dialog boxes as well, and layers are also much easier to edit. We can now double click the text, edit the name of the layer, or double click on the layer to open up the layer options. So a few improvements in the user interface for Illustrator.